and how they must feel when they go through something like that.
Well, we have several questions from reporters from around the world on your impressions of various refugee situations. One asks about the Middle East, your impressions of the refugee situation in the Middle East. Another wants to know about your trip to Chad and the people you met there, and you answered third already about Arizona.
Chad, I went to Chad quite a few months ago, and then most recently I went into Darfur when I was finally allowed to go into Darfur. That's I think for most, it's such a complicated situation. I've gone into so many refugee camps or borders, and it's so obvious what the enemy is and what the needs are, and this is a really difficult situation. When I saw people in Chad and I realized that they were the lucky ones, even though the situation in the camp was so hard and they were looking for water and everybody was in a panic to get them from one place to another and get enough food and enough care for the kids. But then you realize at least we knew where they were and everybody could start to give them some assistance. It was the million people estimated, if not more, that were lost inside Darfur. Then it's open, we can get inside Darfur, and I thought, great, we can, everybody can get to these people and you understand what the needs are. I went inside Darfur and I saw a lot of very emotional, very frustrated aid workers who could not move and properly get to the people. And then when they could get to the people, they were concerned about what they would give the people since they were still living amongst the people that had hurt them. I met a group of kids, and while I was saying to them, and then their clothes were falling off them, they had no change of clothes, they had medical issues that clearly needed to be treated. And I'd say, well, can't you go to the medical? No, the Janjaweed are there. Can you tell me about what's happened? And while I was talking to them, two Janjaweed men walked by with guns, and all the kids stopped talking and got really scared and refused to speak to me anymore. So this idea of are we really getting in there to understand what's going on and how are we really going to help them is really complicated. And I feel for certainly for the people there and also for the people there who are trying to help them, because I think we need to do something bigger with that situation. And I'm not, I'm not a politician. I don't know the perfect answer, but I know that to simply be sending a little bit of aid or occasionally talking about them or saying, is it genocide? Is it like Rwanda? It's gross human rights violations, and people are dying every day. So we've got to do something more than we're doing right now.
We can talk about the Middle East for a minute, first the refugees in the Middle East, but we also got another question about Lebanon, saying you spent last Christmas with refugees and the UNHCR staff in Lebanon. What are your thoughts about the recent assassination of former Prime Minister Hariri, and what impact do you think his assassination, what has it had on you, and what do you think it will on the work in Lebanon?
Again, I'm always so nervous answering these questions because I feel like I come from a place from my heart and my gut, and I'm not the best at analyzing these situations. But I'll tell you that when I was there for Christmas with my son, I found it so beautiful that we could see Christmas trees next to mosques and spend time with all families and all different backgrounds and everything. And you drive down the street and see bullets on either side. You see, God, these people were just fighting and trying to kill each other, and now they're friends and they're trying to rebuild and they're celebrating together. I thought this is what a great example for this part of the world. So for this to happen, it just makes me feel like they were getting so close to something, and what I don't understand exactly what led to it. I don't know what's happening. I don't understand what's happening now, but I'm in fear of how it's going to affect Lebanon and the Lebanese people, and what's going to happen to them, because they were so close to something so peaceful and beautiful. I felt when I was there with my kid.
Now, not to get too much into world politics here, but there's an interesting question about the rumors that Bono of U2 is being considered to head up the World Bank. I don't know if you've worked with him at all on refugee issues, but first, do you think he'd be a good person for that? And secondly, has your work for UNHCR inspired you to consider either running for an office or another position within the UN?
I think I got too many skeletons in my closet for politics, but I think I have met Bono, and I think he's a great guy, great family man, great, and really genuinely has such passion to do good things. So I think, my choice for the World Bank. I don't even, can you say these things? I guess you say it in this room, and it gets out there. Would be Colin Powell. So that's my choice.
So I'll go from Colin Powell to one of his former deputies. We have more questions on John Bolton than any other subject today, since that's in the news as the the President's designee as new UN ambassador. Do you have any views on John Bolton's nomination, and do you think that John Bolton at the UN, after John Negroponte and John Danforth, would change the U.S. approach to the UN?
I really don't know. I don't know enough. I mean, I've started to watch and read things I can about him, but I can't really form an opinion. I can only hope that he's somebody who would be truly, because what we need is somebody who's truly there, not to judge the UN, but to try to really find the best way to make it better and to work with it and make the U.S. and UN relations better, as opposed to just coming at it with criticism. So I'm hoping that that's who he is.
There are a couple of questions about Beyond Borders. First, do you think Beyond Borders could be used for educational purposes? And second, will you be producing, acting, writing in more awareness programs like Beyond Borders?
I never know what's. We certainly did that film because we loved it and we thought it said something. I think if people wanted to show it and use it as education, that would be wonderful. But everybody has a different opinion about those things. And I did recently produce Nerd. I've never spoken about this, I feel, but a documentary, and I still don't know what it is yet. I'm editing it, but it was a moment in the world, and it was the idea was to try to get a glimpse of our world at one time. So we sent 38 crews around the world, and from everywhere from war zones, refugee camps, met with landmine victims, but also families in Middle America, and just to get a sense of what maybe this world looks like, and if people could at least wake up and start to think that way. But I'm editing it now, and I don't know what it's going to turn out to be, and if anybody will watch it.
Beyond your own efforts, how do you think the movie industry has done? Has it played a positive role in publicizing the plight of refugees, and specifically, what do you think Hotel Rwanda has done for the issue?
Yeah, well, I absolutely loved Hotel Rwanda. I think it's the most important film that came out this year, and I know Don Cheadle has recently been to Darfur, and he's become very, very active, and I think he's even working with Paul Rusesabagina, who Hotel Rwanda is about, on something that the campaign, I believe, is even called Hotel Darfur. So he continues, not just with the film, they both are continuing to be extremely active because they see the parallels. There's also a beautiful film, I Am David, that was about a refugee boy. But certainly, I would love it if I read scripts all the time, and most of them don't have very much to say, and I've done some of those. But I wish there were more, and I also wish that audiences wanted to see those films, because often films are made for what audiences want, and audiences don't seem to be rushing to theaters often to see really, really heavy things. But hopefully we can change that and do more.
What do you think the United States, the United Nations, and other leading powers could do to prevent future genocides like was portrayed in Hotel Rwanda? And what can they do for the plight of refugees?
I think this is it's a bigger question. I've recently traveled to Ethiopia with Jeffrey Sachs, and I've been learning about the Millennium Development Goals, and many people think they're very, very ambitious, and I believe they are, but I think they're also possible. The reason I bring those up is because the idea of how much money, when I started to look at statistics and how much money we send in aid and after the fact, and let's fix it with the war, or there's this many refugees have fled across the border, or this war's broken out, or these people are fighting over resources. I mean, we all need to be focusing on helping these people to be able to control their own resources, have proper quality of lives, understand their soil, understand their school for their children, understand all of these things, so there will be simply less conflict in the world and therefore less refugees and less need for food aid, and we can start just investing in people and their infrastructures, and I think that's what we should all be, and all governments should be focusing on now.
The recent tsunami was universally described as a huge tragedy, and it galvanized actions from governments and citizens around the world. What does it take to